We now have the optimized Z-bar linkage. So we straighten those arms out a little bit, we move that torque tube up just a touch. That allows you to have the breakout of a Z-bar, the tilt and parallelism of an IT machine, but you have that visibility on top of it as well. Now that's available from a 906 through a 982. Okay, that concept, we patented that. The proportions are patented, we're the only ones that's going to happen. Now I'll go one step further. When we introduced the 924/30/38 product in 2012, and again, listen to those customers, they say, man, I really like this, but there's parts that on my old Z-bar machine I can just see better, and now I can't see where I need to be. I really like to see the blade of that bucket when I dump into a truck. Now, if you were a VersaLink customer, you couldn't see anyway, so you're not complaining about it because you've got better visibility than you ever had.
Sure.
But if you're a traditional Z-bar, now all of a sudden you can. So to complement that, we said, okay, let's really take a good look at this and figure out what we need to do. So our older machine had essentially a single plate design, and it more or less looked like a D on top of it, okay? So when I raised up, I was trying to look through the back of that D. So it was very hard, you just simply couldn't see through it. There's just a window that was not possible. So we looked and was like, where do our customers use our machine? Specifically, where's our weaknesses at? Where can we make this better? So we kind of cupped that up a little bit, and then we took that other plate and we cupped it to make that whole kind of patch, almost like an eyeball through the side of it, okay? So just kind of think that kind of oblong shape and makes them smaller. Now when I raise it up, I'm looking under that linkage. Okay, but obviously, you don't just like you don't make that change just overnight. So we had to get the right size steel. You have to move it around, do a lot of stress testing, get it all right. It's about another 1.5 to 2 years in development. The machines coming out of the factory all have what we call the Gen 2 loader linkage on the 924, 930, 938K.
Right here, the profile of the new cross member is in its smallest position. So I'm going to keep on going up, and the area that we had some issues was basically dumping into a truck. So at this height here on lower trucks, with this new linkage, you can clearly see the bottom of the cutting edge. On the previous design, there was more steel in there, and so it came closer down, so it would prevent. So guys running with smaller trucks would have some issues. So once the redesign was done, this was the key focus area, is to be able to make sure that you could always see your cutting edge through the bottom of that crossmember.
Okay. So it's mostly, the changes are mostly in the crossmember.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's the size and the profile of that crossmember. Again, in this position, the older style was slightly larger. It came down to where these sort of gussets are, and so that basically was preventing people with dumping into smaller trucks from seeing the cutting edge. So that sense of knowing exactly where your bucket is was lost. And so that was what prompted the work to look to improve that. So yeah, it is physically smaller. There are additional welds on the outside and additional channels on the inside that you cannot see, and that's what the engineers had to work on, is getting it. So the fabrication of this, it is physically smaller, but there is basically a very similar amount of steel in that section. It's just we've had to put internal to that channel. And that's really what allowed us to basically strip that down. A lot of validation was done, because obviously we didn't want to change it and then have some issues.